It's a good morning if you woke up.
That's right, especially when you get to join the Power Hour.
That's exactly right. Each and every Monday through Friday, 6
That's right.
a.m. to 7 a.m. And you get a chance to join us and get angry. We kind of get you going. I mean, that's what I've heard from some people.
Get the
You
blood
guys
boiling.
y'all make me so mad on this sometimes. That's right, because we won't be controlled by the man or the woman. We're not going to be controlled here. These are our thoughts, our opinions, and we love to be here with you. You can check us out 900 AM, 96.1 FM in the city of Philadelphia. And you can also follow us on social media. Tune in to Facebook Live and YouTube Live and comment. Share the post, bring others into the conversation. Always have a lot to talk about. You can also check us out at WURDradio.com or go to the App Store, search for WURD Radio, and you can download this app into your phone, your tablet, whatever. I mean, basically what I'm saying is there are about 50,000 ways you can listen to the show. And if none of those things I laid out work, then just go really, really old school, get a tin can and a string. And yeah, that's right. And eventually you'll pick up the signal. So sitting across from me is in his virtual studio is none other than Bishop Dwayne David Royster.
And sitting across from me is the Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler.
And the glue that holds it all together right there in the real studio is none other than Kawesa.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
Doing okay. Doing okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How was the ride in? Because it appears to be a bit cold today.
It's chilly. It's a little cold. Not like awful. I think it's in the 50s right now.
Wow.
But it's windy. It's very windy, at least in the Philly and Jersey area. So you definitely need a jacket.
Wow.
Definitely. Yeah.
And how was that traffic today?
Not bad. Maybe folks are, took a day off or something, and after Mother's Day, maybe folks went away for a little bit, and so they took Monday off. But it wasn't bad at all when I was driving in. The biggest piece is that, we did have some rain. So a couple pockets of rainwater in certain areas. So just, also be careful as you're driving out. But yeah, not bad at all.
Appreciate you, Twasa, giving us our weather and traffic update early in the morning.
Of course.
She suffers for you people. Yes, and by you people, I mean you people. I actually mean it that way. What you mean, you people? Yeah, you people.
You people.
That's exactly right. So listen, man, a lot to get to. First of all, again, happy Mother's Day Part 2, because some mothers not going to let it go. It's Mother's Week.
That's a lot of people celebrate their birthdays for a month, 2 months, 3 months now,
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not even going to get into that because I already know it's going to happen. Because I know some people very close to me who celebrate birthdays for an entire month.
Yes.
I just stay
They're
out
probably
the way.
listening right now.
Yeah. They are. Yeah. Hey, listen, folks, hit the share button. Bring other people into this conversation this morning on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live. Yesterday, so we went out to a restaurant. And it was like the first time, I guess, really as a family that we did that. It was interesting. So, we get to the table and, the hostess is, as soon as we sit down, you may now take your masks off. It was like she had the whole little spiel, ready. And it was a good experience. Plenty of social distance in the restaurant. Even on Mother's Day, it looks like they maxed out at 50%. So no other table was next to us. The waiter never took his mask off. And I don't know, just kind of felt good being out and feeling like things are getting back to normal, or as they say, being like Georgia and Florida. You know what I mean? Because they've been like this throughout. They never stop.
Yeah, and that's why their numbers always keep going crazy.
They don't care. This is Georgia, Florida. But no, but really it was. So have you all had a chance to get out there yet like that as a family?
No, actually, so, Saturday was my daughter's baby shower that was supposed to be a drive-by, but everybody kept getting out of their cars and wanting to come into the house, and particularly see my parents. So We and my parents had the Elders Council over on Saturday. So this is their friends, group of friends they've traveled with for over 45 years. They get together all the time. They used to get together weekly and do stuff. And all of them have been vaccinated for well over a month, some of them a month and a half now. And so the baby shower was an excuse for them to finally get together. And it was kind of wild going and seeing them all sitting in my parents' dining room. Nobody in there under 75. And they hadn't seen each other in over a year. And so it was a real reunion for them, and for an excuse for the baby shower. And we just kept the young people out and away from them so they could get together. So now that they have emerged, we will probably take them to some dinners and stuff so they can all hang out and spend time together. But we have not gone out recently. And we'll probably, my second shot was 2 weeks in on Friday. Mm-hmm. So I'm now fully vaccinated. And my youngest daughter just got her second shot on Friday as well. So a couple of weeks, we'll be good to go.
Yeah, I was trying to work it out to get to California. Mm-hmm. Surprise my mother. That's just a hard thing, man. Trying to, just couldn't work it out. But certainly wanted to get there. So she's been vaccinated. And I can say it's because it's like 3 a.m. there, so I know she ain't listening to the show. And she's not on Facebook, so she won't go back and listen. But I expected her fully to be like the biggest anti-vaxxer that there is because, it's like back in the day, if they were like doing some construction on the street somewhere, she said, they're putting stuff in the ground to control us, right?
Right.
Like, where did you get that? It's there. If there's ever an uprising, see what comes out the ground. I'm like, Mom, come on, really? So sure enough, she was not crazy about the vaccine. But it was fortunate that they had the one shot J&J at the time that was out. And so one of those days, her church was sponsoring it in Oakland, Brookings AME. And so some of the folk at the church convinced her. She went on down like a lot of other folk and got the shot. So she's been vaccinated. So I felt safe about going. But again, it also so a couple of things in that little anecdote, right? One is the importance of why, folk like us went and got vaccinated, when they were asking pastors to get vaccinated and encourage our congregations, the kind of role and influence that, faith leaders have at times with their members.
Right.
But then also the fact that you need that one shot, because somebody like her, I guarantee you would have never gone back for the second shot. She'd be like, no, I'm good. No, I'm 87. I'm all right. I don't need another one. But like I said, the one shot worked. We got her in. She got out. Well, actually, she got out. I had nothing to do with it. I was like completely surprised when they told me she got it. I'm like, who? Did you all like, because she like Mr. T. You got to like knock her out, then take her. Like spike her drink. Like, what did you all do? Render her unconscious and get her a vaccine? No, she went on her own.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
Now, my mom was an anti-vaxxer until somebody she really loved and cared about got sick with COVID. And then all of a sudden she was like, oh, when's the shot available? She's looking for shots for her and my dad. And I'm like, when did this change? So, she was totally like not going to get the shot, very public about it, like telling all her friends, I'm not getting the shot. I'm not getting the shot. And then two of the folk in the group that were here on Saturday, husband and wife, they both got it. One wound up in the hospital. And after that, she was like, oh, when is the vaccine available? I'm going to get the vaccine. So, sometimes life experiences will do that for you.
Yeah, well, look, so again, happy Mother's Day, as Leslie says in the chat. The day after Mother's Day should be a holiday, too. Okay.
It really should, because it's exhausting.
Yeah, it should be a holiday for us.
I had church yesterday, then I had to cook.
Bro.
And then I had to, and I'm like, I was running around. I was all kinds of stuff. I'm cooking, and then you got to clean up. You got to do all this stuff. Oh, man, I was exhausted.
Bernita's has my mom by some months. Her mother's 88. She says she cooked breakfast and dinner for her mom. That's great.
Oh, that's awesome.
Glad to see you on, Sheila and Connie, Deacon Maleka, Mabel. Glad to see Tawanda as well. A lot of you all on this morning. Glad to see Brinkley. What's up, Greg? and others this morning who are tuning in. So looking forward this week, real quick, just kind of like, as we kind of set the table for the week ahead, certainly we'll be talking about the anniversary, the tragic anniversary of the MOVE bombing,
Right.
which is coming up this week, May the 13th. And so as the week progresses, we'll certainly be looking at that. And it seems as though, a lot of the factors behind it are still extremely relevant today in that, criminal justice and the ways in which, Black people and police interact. I mean, is that like not the news story? If not for COVID, that would have been the dominant story. And many Black folk would say that was the story for the year. COVID was the second story. But again, it's still ever present.
Yeah.
And another weekend in Philadelphia, a lot of people shot, 20 people in 4 different shootings on yesterday. And so as we grapple with the notion of what makes our streets safe, what makes our community safe, a lot of the controversial things that led to the MOVE bombing are still being parroted as though we've learned nothing.
Absolutely. I would totally agree with that 100%. We still act towards Black people in a manner that is not helpful and it's not humanizing. Mm-hmm. We have a police department, and I really should say the FOP, that as our colleague and friend Michael Cord has said, twice voted for Trump and basically Rizzoites that are trying to perpetuate a form of policing that is racist, oppressive, and not community-based by any means, that, this police force continues its antics and its tactics, not just here in Philadelphia, but around the country. So we need to really call for something very different than what we are experiencing right now and imagine a different world. And that's really what we're being invited to in this moment, to imagine a different world and a different way of being and living.
Well, the only thing I would take issue with what you just said is there are 2 invitations on the table. One is to imagine a different world, and one is to let's go back to what we used to do: roughing up Black kids, throwing them up against the walls. Yeah. Hey, you punk! What you got on you? What you holding? What you holding? What you
holding? That's fair. That's a fair statement. Yes, that's a very fair statement.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like I'm with you. I'm about. Maybe the police shortage in Philly is a great time
Absolutely.
to reimagine, okay, great. So the numbers are down. We've been saying that you don't need as many armed police. You need other kind of mediation in the community. So if you can't fill those jobs, let's take those, 500 or 1,000 positions and turn those into something else. Those mental health experts that you all were hyping up after the Walter Wallace killing. You were saying, oh, we need to do this. Well, then do it. You got the money now because people don't want to be cops or whatever. So let's do that. Let's create a new phone number for families who are in mental health crises. But let's not just instantly have a knee-jerk reaction and go back to, quote unquote, the good old days. Because the good old days weren't so good, in particular for Black men, many of whom right now are the main ones trumpeting that.
That's right.
I'm like, do y'all remember what happened back then? That's like, huh? Dude, we don't have to go back to the 80s. We can go back 3 years ago before the Bailey consent decree in Philadelphia on stop and frisk.
That's right.
And look at the numbers. I mean, when we come back on the other side of the break, I want to look at this because there was a shooting in Times Square. Very sad. 4-year-old girl among others who was shot. Thankfully, nobody died in that scenario. And there's an opinion piece in the New York Post. And you could almost just take New York City out of this and put Philadelphia in it because this guy from the Post is basically, essentially saying, let's go back to the way it used to be because that's what drove crime down, which we know is also not true. And but then also want to compare that to the numbers when you get into the numbers of what that kind of policing looks like and how ineffective it is, and also how it erodes trust in the Black community, how it just, the denial of a person's Fourth Amendment rights of, not to be unreasonably stopped repeatedly and searched, that all of that, how that is just bad for the community. But I guess if that makes you sleep well at night, go for it. Man, it's 6:20 in the morning. We got to take a quick break on the Power Hour. We're going to start this week off right. See that, Kawesa? Right on time. We'll be right back on the other side of the break. Pat us on the back, please. Thank you.
Philadelphia, it's State Representative Joanna McClinton. The stakes in this year's district attorney's race couldn't be higher. For decades, the DA's office devastated black communities through brutal punishment while never holding police accountable. DA Larry Krasner has changed that in just 3 short years, while his opponent spent 35 years relentlessly pushing the policies that destroyed our communities. We cannot let him take us back. We have everything to lose. We must keep moving forward. Vote now, vote early, vote Krasner for DA on May the 18th.
Paid for by Krasner for DA.
The Philadelphia Salvation Army Kroc Center is hosting a community job fair on Tuesday, May 25th, 2021 from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The Kroc Center is partnering with the area employers to showcase the variety of employment opportunities available as we return to normal. You belong here, doing the most good. Business casual, bring your resume.
This WURD Wellness Vignette is brought to you by Keystone First. WURD Radio presents the following wellness tip to support our listeners with mindfulness and motivation as we continue to navigate the pandemic together.
This is Helana, your resident expert health and wellness coach, with tips to help you stay well. Let's talk about your choice not to smoke. Now, of all the healthy lifestyle choices you can make, this could be the most important. Did you know that smoking causes cancer, heart disease, and even type 2 diabetes? Smoking is also responsible for upwards of 440,000 American deaths per year. Here's the thing. When you smoke, it becomes difficult for the blood in your body to flow freely, often leaving you tired and cranky. It also contributes to the decrease in circulation, which can severely affect your immune system. In a time where we need our immune system to be in tip-top shape to keep us healthy and safe, choosing not to smoke is one of the best choices you could make. Commit to living smoke-free today and boost your immune system in as little as 1 day. Let's choose to strengthen our immune systems, improve our lung function, and decrease our risk for stroke or heart attack by not smoking. Choosing not to smoke is something we can all do to support our overall personal and community health. Go ahead, commit today. Stay well with WURD. Happy, healthy living.
Stay well with WURD. Connect with us at wordradio.com. This WURD Wellness Vignette was brought to you by Keystone First. For more information, visit KeystoneFirstPA.com. The Black Words Book Club. WURD Radio's monthly conversation on books that explore the African American experience through social, economic, and environmental justice issues. Tune in the second Tuesday of every month on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro, 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. The next book for May is Living in Color by Tommy Davidson. Be sure to listen live, as Nick Taliaferro will hold a contest for a giveaway book bundle that consists of 4 titles from Kensington's Defina's Authors of Color's newest release. Don't miss it. Tuesday, May 11th on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Attention for WURD members. Get your copy and receive a 20% discount when you purchase at Harriet's Bookstore or Hakeem's Bookstore. For more information on the Black Words Book Club, visit wordradio.com. The Black Words Book Club is sponsored by Defina. Defina is an imprint of Kensington Publishing Corporation, America's independent publisher, concentrating on authors of color. You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. We're here Monday through Fridays from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to bring you the latest in news, happenings around Philadelphia, and, of course, our opinion. And we have plenty of them. Started in this morning saying Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, reminding you that Mondays should be another holiday to recover from Mother's Day, especially for all those of us that had to cook and clean that don't normally do it. And then we kind of jumped into the raison d'etre, reason to being for the day, is this conversation about what's happening with policing around Philadelphia, and not just Philadelphia, it's really around the nation, in terms of what we're doing and how we're living and moving and being in this particular point in human history. So,
yeah, I mean, well, and I mean, listen, so criminal justice reform is on the ballot. So next week, and, we're not going to get into, all the particulars of this particular campaign. And so, but what I will say is that next week's election really is going to be a test for persons who consider themselves reform-minded around, district attorney offices, around policing in general, because Krasner's kind of, at the forefront of a class of people that were elected 3 and 4 years ago across the country. And so what happens in a moment of where violence spikes, and you can't talk about the rampant gun violence uptick in Philly, New York, or anywhere else without putting it in the context that 8 million jobs have disappeared that have not come back from last year. A lot of folk are unemployed and chronically underemployed as a result of COVID-19, the kind of anger that comes with people being socially distant and sheltered in place. So there are a ton of reasons. I mean, I think you don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand that, but it happens at a time where there's an election, right? And so it's a referendum on whether or not, people want to go forward with taking a chance on a different approach toward criminal justice versus the old school way that people are convinced works, unless you're one of the people who it's being practiced on, right? I was watching so during the pandemic, I may have mentioned this before, but it bears repeating. During the pandemic, you go back, you start watching all kind of old stuff, especially on Hulu, because that's all the old TV shows. So I tried to start watching Hill Street Blues. I never told you this then, did I?
No, you didn't, but oh my God, Hill Street Blues was that in 1980s?
Yeah, man, because so first of all, they had just really moving characters, and they tried to show the nuance of cops. You got like some guys who are in there trying to do well, but all the corruption, they lay it all on the table. They really do. But man, there was this one there was this one scene where someone had like shot somebody, and they just really wanted this. Oh, it was a cop got his gun stolen. That's what it was. And so that precinct, that's a black eye on that precinct, and they wanted the gun back. And so the Captain Furillo was like, I want the gun back. Go out there and do whatever you have to do. Stop and frisk everybody. And I mean, dude, they roll up on a basketball game out at the court. It's like about 24 black guys. They just start just putting everybody against the fence, just going through their pockets, taking everything out, going through people's cars. And I'm thinking to myself, like in that era, nobody questioned that, right? I mean, people did question it, but even black folk kind of just assume that's what cops get to do.
Yep.
And how TV even reinforced these notions that we have no rights that any white person is bound to respect, going back to Justice Taney in the 1800s even, right? And so here we are now back in this moment. So the shooting yesterday in Times Square, or over the weekend, I don't know if it was Saturday or Sunday, there was an opinion that came out already. So this guy is writing, Bob McManus in the New York Post. He's talking about New York. And basically, he's saying that what you need to do is go back and crack down on low-level crimes, because low-level crimes, basically what we call broken window policing, is what stops, people from carrying guns. He says this: 30 years ago, the crack cocaine turf wars were tearing New York City apart. There were 2,600 murders in 1990, a record, and City Hall lacked the courage and imagination to do more than tally the bodies. Then came men who understood that tending to minor, dude, he literally said that. Not men and women. I'm surprised he didn't say then came white men, but we know what he meant. Then came, I insert, white men who understood that tending to minor offenses dramatically reduced major crime, that targeting subway turnstile jumpers, for example, cut gun crime because the jumpers began to leave their weapons at home. The new quality of life approach, along with related accountability reforms and strict attention to detail, had a cascading effect. Violent crime rates dropped dramatically. On and on and on.
So that was Commissioner Ray, and I can't think of his last name. That was the commissioner that believed in broken windows policing. And there was actually Commissioner Timoney that came from New York that instituted police that instituted broken window policing here in the city of Philadelphia. It did not work very well. Because you're imagining that jumping the turnstile is a gateway to gun violence. And I would vehemently disagree with you on that, that the two are not even associated with each other. You know, and the broken windows policing, so the notion of broken windows policing was also that you were also checking out houses that had like torn shades or torn blinds or, you know, a broken window effect in the city of Philadelphia. And actually L&I at the time, which is licensed in inspection here in the city of Philadelphia, went through to abandoned houses and began to replace the windows with boarded up pictures of window paintings with flowers and things in the windows, because their notion was that if you made the community look better, people would be less inclined to also commit crime in those communities. So there was a whole thing to broken windows policing theory that actually led to increased levels of stop and frisk, increased levels of frustration between community and policing, and it actually brought us to the place where we are today.
Right. And again, I mean, so what do we do in this moment, right? We all agree that, so the fact is that shootings are out of control, that the homicide rate is far too high. So there's no disagreement there. I don't think anybody is happy with that. The question, though, is, you know, what do you do to address it? Do you just basically let the cops just, you know, off the leash, which is what the FOP wants you to believe, right? Just let us off the leash. We'll stop crime. Yeah, I mean, so a whole lot of collateral damage in the process as well, versus a more surgical approach, right? Which is to recognize that when you have, I mean, when you think about a community like ours in a city of 1.5 million, that the violent crimes are happening by the hands of literally a handful of people. So do you spend your time investigating those people versus treating all of us who happen to be Black and male as though we're all, I mean, listen, this is, so literally from February this year, Action News on Channel 6 did a story again on stop and frisk in Philadelphia. And there's been a lot of research on how bad it is and how poorly it's been executed. And this is what they interviewed a person, Mahari Bailey. Mahari Bailey said the first time he was unjustifiably stopped by police was in high school. Quote, so he just took me out of the car, you know, searched the car, asked, you know, where the guns are, where the guns were, where the weapons and drugs were. I'm like, dude, I'm in 10th grade, he said. That experience wouldn't be his last. As a Black man, he said over the years he experienced a handful of other stops. Now, you add to the research that they put into their article that Black Philadelphians are three times as likely as white Philadelphians to be stopped by police. Add to that when you get down to the results, when they stop white men, 1 in 5 actually has contraband. Black men, only 1 in 8.
Mm-hmm.
So you're stopping more Black people, and it's less effective. Seems that you're kind of onto something when you stop white guys, you know, because again, it's, you know, so there's no, you know, when you have a stop and a frisk, there is supposed to be a whole lot that goes on before that. You have witnessed something as an officer that leads you to believe that the person may have something on them. It's not rolling up on a block, seeing a person for the first time, and 5 seconds later, you're stopping and frisking them.
Right.
That's not police work. And that is what erodes trust in our community. But you have people and Black folk who are willing to go back to that. And I'm saying that we have to have the kind of the courage and strength to make it through these horrible moments that we're in, and not go back to the fear-based type of policing that people want to sell you on, as though that is the only thing that can bring down these homicides and shootings. It's not.
I mean, so first of all, policing is reactive. Right. Policing in general is reactive in nature, right? It responds to crime. It does not necessarily stop crime. And I think people believe you have more cops out, it's actually going to stop crime. It actually doesn't stop anything, to be honest with you. The real challenge for Philadelphia is the issue of economics. I'm telling you, this is the bottom line.
Well, yeah, go,
It's the bottom
please
line.
speak
It's
on it.
all about economics. People are frustrated, they're hurting, and they're acting out because they don't have any money. Now, this thought occurred to me the other day, was that a lot of people in Philadelphia work in an underground economy. And let me just define that, though, because I think a lot of people hear underground economy, they're immediately thinking drugs. Actually, it's not drugs. I'm talking about people that bake cakes, make cookies, sew dresses, folk that they might be housekeepers and others that actually worked on a cash basis, did not have a registered business. If
Hmm.
you were that type of person and you had no track record in terms of any income that you brought in, you were not eligible for unemployment benefits. You were not
Right.
eligible for the PPP loan, right? Because all of those things required you to have some form of documented proof that you were making money. Now, if you were Uber driver or Lyft driver or others like that, you could actually access some of those things. But for folk that purely worked on a underground economy, and some people would say it's legitimate. I think people do what they have to do to survive. Unlike folk who actually work regular jobs and had, proof of income and time in the system, were actually able to access both state and federal unemployment benefits, which would be able to sustain them if you had an underground economy job. And that does include drug dealers in this particular moment. You have no way of being able to access money to be able to survive in this particular moment. So there's frustration, consternation. And then the folk that you are normally selling to are not buying in this moment because
Right.
so you have no access to be able to get a small business loan to be able to help buoy your business and sustain you in this hour. So, there's a whole lot to that. And with the high poverty rate that we have in the city of Philadelphia, the
Hmm.
underground economy here is very large. It's a large economy. And the way that we have benefits to help support people in this city make it such that people have to rely on the underground economy because you can't get health care if you make too much money. You can't get housing support if you make too much money. And so we create these catch-22 for folk and then put them in a scenario when they can't get support in a time of a pandemic because they have income coming in that they can't prove or can't tell anybody about lest they lose the rest of their benefits. This is the problem that we have in Philadelphia. It is
Hmm.
purely economic.
Right. And so I say to that, and to folk who are wrestling, because listen, let's be clear. On the one hand, it's about our local election here next week, but this is a bigger question, and this is about we talk about like the defund the police movement,
Right.
and when you get a real understanding of what that is, I know when you first hear it, it's like, oh my God,
God, yes.
Now there are certainly within the defund movement differences of opinion. There's some who want to abolish police altogether. I don't subscribe to that, but I certainly subscribe to much deeper cuts and to reallocate those funds into places that ultimately make us safer, so that in this moment, for people who are advocates and reform minded persons, that you have to be you have to continue to dream of what is possible beyond trying to go back to the nightmare that was, as though look, not to get all biblical with y'all on the day after Sunday,
Come
but
on now.
Jesus does talk about when you get rid of that unclean spirit, if you let it back in, 7 come back even
Right.
worse than the first one, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and there's a real practical side of that, right? That you go back to what we had, it's going to come back and not just be the same, but it's going to be even far worse because it feels that it comes back with a mandate from the very people that it is going to operate on.
Right.
Yeah, and so Renee says not defund, reallocate the funds for community involvement, hire people from the communities. I think that's kind of what I'm saying. But again, Renee,
Yeah.
oh man, listen, that battle of semantics is like, whoa, you don't even want to go there. I mean, you want to see a real fight, throw a bunch of us in the same room who believe in like the idea of defund, but are on different sides of the spectrum.
Oh, that's, yeah.
Be like, go, deathmatch. Right. Lock the cage. Lock them in.
Let me just say this. H. Levert Williams says, we need to look inwards and see who amongst us are most in touch with the streets and are serious anti-violence advocates. We promote them for positions of political power and hold them accountable once we place them in power. We also need to create jobs and a way out of poverty, no money, high crime and violence, allow the community to obtain self-sufficiency, and you lower the rate of violence. Hey, I don't disagree with that. I mean, I'm totally in tune with the fact that we have to get people who are from the grassroots into positions of political power, who can deeply relate to what's going on in the streets and are decision makers into those places of power. So I'm all with you on that. I talk about that constantly, that we have to develop and build our own people. I know we got to go to break.
That's right. No. And Gary says, and we're going to go to break on this. Gary says, I'll never forget Mayor Kinney saying on this radio station that he would end, stop, and frisk. Flat out lied. Gary, if we have time in the last segment, I'll briefly tell you our experience with that statement of yours with Mayor Jim Kinney. It did not end well, and it's been a rough 5 years with us ever since. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. And, hey, keep adding your thoughts on social media. Come on, YouTube. There's a lot of you all over there watching. Don't be so quiet. Step out there and just add your thoughts as well. It's 6:41 in the morning. This is the Power Hour. Don't you move.
We do all we can to ensure our kids are happy, healthy, safe, and strong. Having high-quality, low-cost health insurance helps make that possible. With CHIP, your child can have medical, dental, eye care, and more for free or low cost. Whether you're self-employed, unemployed, or your employee benefits are just too expensive, CHIP is there for you to help your child be strong. CHIP Strong. Apply or renew today at 800-986-KIDS or go to chipcoverspakids.com.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
From safe to seamless, convenient to contactless, and local to express, SEPTA is the Philly way to go. Plan your trip at iseptaphilly.com.
The Sankofa Freedom Academy Charter School is an African-centered public freedom school that is looking for experienced, certified teachers in kindergarten through 12th grade for the 2021-22 school year. These positions are full-time and come with full health, vision, dental, and retirement benefits. Salary is comparable to the School District of Philadelphia. Interested parties should send their resume and cover letter via email to careers@sfacs.us. For more information, visit sfacs.us.
The WURD Radio newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting wordradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio. Messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax-Reese. Exclusive articles and multimedia content and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio newsletter. WURD Radio presents the following information to help you navigate the upcoming election.
This is Charles Ellison of Reality Check and City Council Live. Still feeling a bit worn out from the 2020 election? We're not done yet. 2021 is another important year when locally you have the power to pick Philadelphia's district attorney. Who will it be? The current DA and incumbent Larry Krasner, or former assistant DA and challenger Carlos Vega? What we know is this is a closely watched bellwether on the future of issues such as mass incarceration, policing, and public safety. If you want to have a direct say over these issues, simply vote in the upcoming primary on May 18th. If you have your mail-in ballot, you can vote by mail starting May 11th. More information can be found at the Philadelphia City Commissioner website, phillyvotes.com. Continue to follow @onWURD and #WordOnPolitics for analysis and updates while tuning in to WURD Radio for special election coverage. Don't talk about your vote, cast it.
Stay informed and vote. For more from Charles Ellison, tune in Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. or visit wordradio.com. Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report's sponsored by Smart Mouth, the only 24-hour mouthwash with twice daily use. Not a bad ride here in Philadelphia. Usual volume building southbound 95. Heavy coming down through Bridge through that work zone again. Betsy Ross through Girard northbound in pretty good shape. Westbound buying delays 8th out through Broadigan Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Schuylkill westbound City out to Belmont, a bit slow eastbound, not bad. Yet the Bull Boulevard Route 1 southbound. Some volume building brought down to Fox through that construction. Looking at 55 northbound north of Deptford into 42. Bit of volume there now beginning to pick up. Stay fresh out there with Smart Mouth mouthwash, the only mouthwash that provides 24 hours of fresh breath with twice daily use. So whatever the day may bring, you can stay sunny with a side of fresh. Grab a bottle today, available wherever mouthwash is sold, or visit smartmouth.com. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Now, a WURD weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
Lingering clouds and cool this morning, but skies become partly sunny during the day. We'll warm into the mid-50s by lunchtime and a high of 66 this afternoon. Clear and cool tonight, 47 the low Tuesday, up to 65 in the afternoon. Morning sunshine, then clouds coming through later in the day with a slight chance of a shower. Bit gusty Tuesday afternoon, winds gusting to 30 miles an hour. Still breezy for Wednesday, partly sunny skies, 66 after a morning low of 43 degrees. I'm NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. There's a little bit of a debate going on on Facebook. Let me just say, I've always said, I was born in Germantown, raised in East Mount Airy. And there's a big difference between East and West Mount Airy. Trust me, there's a major difference between the two. So, yeah, thanks, but now we good.
I'm looking at the comments. You know, it's, I don't know, man. Just, bro, I mean, seriously.
This is fun early in the morning.
It really is. Come on, Raphael, chill, man. Be good, bro. Be good. And so Nikki O'Tim on YouTube said, I just don't understand how black Philadelphians voted for Kenny 2 times. And then in all caps, especially when he lied to your face, caps, shaking my head.
So, I mean, let me just say, the Working Families Party had a mayoral debate at Arch Street United Methodist Church, right across the street from City Hall. Mm-hmm. I was the moderator of the debate. Right. Jim Kenney was in the debate.
Right.
We have video of the debate. There's a video of this. Hardy Williams, Jim Kenney, Nelson Diaz.
Trulio, or whatever his name was.
Yeah. No, Trulio was out at that point.
Okay.
Because Kenny replaced Trulio, right?
Gotcha.
So had all this picture. First question about stop and frisk. Jim Kenney gets up there and says, on video, day 1, I'm going to end stop and frisk, right? Everybody gets excited. We're like, hey, this is great. He's like, I'm going to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour on video. He said it, right?
Yeah.
Then he gets elected.
Now, let me pick the story up.
Okay.
So then from there, I had the opportunity to moderate a conversation with him, brand newly minted as the mayor of Philadelphia, at another church that belongs to power at the time, New Vision United Methodist Church. And he's sitting there next to Rich Ross, his new commissioner. And we asked, Mr. Kenney, Mayor Kenney, when are we going to end stop and frisk? And he said what amounted to, you didn't read the small print in my campaign literature. I never actually said that we were going to completely end. And before he could finish, bro, that room exploded.
Yeah.
And he had the audacity. Let me just tell you. So we co-sponsored that event, Power, with Chris Flood, the drummer Norris.
Yeah.
It was Flood's idea, and we co-sponsored it, and it was like with Flood's group, Tech Book Online. And so Flood and I, we worked the questions together. Reverend Leslie Callahan was another moderator, and so he literally accused us. Let me tell you what he told me personally, that we set him up. That you wanted to embarrass me and make me look bad. I'm like, you embarrassed yourself.
Right.
You walked into a room full of like 400 black people,
and he knew it was about police.
It was you brought the commissioner with you to talk about policing, and number one on the agenda is what drove the election was, you know, your position on stop and frisk. And then you wanted to give us a nuanced answer after what you just said, giving us a straight up, yes, day 1 stop and frisk ends. And now here we're at day 1. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Let me explain myself. See, what had happened was, I'm like, that's on you. And I agree with Nikki O'Tim. I don't understand how after that, he got a second chance and it was overwhelming. But that also speaks to just kind of, you know, the malaise that's in the Democratic Party in this city. You
We
know,
didn't really have a good candidate either.
we didn't put any candidate out because, all these deals had been cut. No, just let Jim have his aid, and then we're going to give it to you-know-who and let her have her aid, and then we'll give it to you-know-who. I mean, listen, man, I guess you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
I mean,
this is why we have to develop our own people and run them for office. I'm serious. I'm totally bent on this at this point. I'm sick of taking other people's leftovers, right? And I'm like, if you want to change the city, then you got to run your own people for office and get them elected. So I agree with H. Lavert Williams that said that earlier. You got to get your own folk. You got to train them up, get them prepared, help them to understand the political nuance and run it for office. I'm totally down with that.
Well, that's kind of, I think, the same point being made on YouTube by Nikki O'Tim, that, you got to do something like what Cori Bush did. Congresswoman Cori
Bush, that's right.
Came directly out of the movement. And, listen, I don't know, man. This party sometimes in the city it just drives me crazy because, again, the kind of things that they tolerate and then what they push up against, right? I mean, again, I don't know. They just don't appear to have a real commitment to us on the ground level. And when you say that, when the city was burning in June, I found myself in a room dragged to a meeting with a bunch of the quote unquote city political leaders of the party. And, looking for answers. And it was an interesting meeting because there were also a lot of white folk from South Philly. I think I told you the story.
You did.
And so in the middle so the meeting is going, and this white guy stands up from South Philly and says, "We got to talk about the elephant in the room." And I'm like, okay, here we go. Let's go, man. He says, "They're trying to take the Columbus statue away." I was like,
yeah.
Huh? So that's why all the white folk here from South Philly in this meeting of leaders as our city is burning, that's what y'all came here to talk about? I thought we were here to talk about the fact that there are no jobs in the city for black folk, the jobs that we have pay too little, and that until we get serious and push the chamber on taking this from being like a modern day plantation and being serious about investing resources in the community, you're going to always be like one incident away from everything being burned down.
Yep.
I thought that's what we came to talk about, but I'm sorry. I didn't know that this is about protecting Columbus's statue and your frail egos. That's when I left the meeting. I looked at the person who brought me. I said, "Yeah, bro. I told you I would attend. I didn't tell you I would stay."
That is a problem.
Welcome to Philly, 21st century version. I mean, so we got a lot of problems. So look, we're going to continue to talk about. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, I was just going to say, Michael Cord defined the DA's race in an article in the Philadelphia Trib, which he says it is Larry Krasner versus Rizzo. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Vega got the support of the FOP. The FOP supported Trump and is trying to take this thing backwards. It is a race between Larry Krasner or the 1970s version of Frank Rizzo. End of story.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. My thoughts, if you really want my thoughts, I posted something on my own page, and you can go check it out from a couple of days ago, Mark Kelly Tyler on Facebook. And I'm very clear and explicit about who I'm supporting and why I'm supporting them. And you want to know it, you can check it out. And I mean, look, like you said, again, I think you should read Michael Cord's opinion piece. It's extremely informative as well. Again, this week we're going to be talking about the MOVE bombing as we come up on, again, another tragic reminder of what happens when police go without control. Remember that there is an election on next Tuesday, the 18th. And let's look, it's not just the big presidential ones that are, important. Every single election, every primary is important. Judges are on the ballot, a few very important ballot questions as well. And we'll talk about those as the week goes on. And I think that's all we have, man.
All right. Well, listen, everybody, thanks for checking us out here on the Power Hour. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. to bring you the latest in news happenings around Philadelphia and, of course, our opinions, which we always have plenty of. Thank you, Croatia, for holding down the boards. Thank you, Dr. Tyler, for everything you do. Thank you to everybody that's listened to us on the air, on the app, Facebook, YouTube, by whatever means, osmosis, we don't care. We thank you for listening to us each and every day. Stay tuned for Wake Up with Word with Solomon Jones. And family, do us and yourselves a favor. Do your community a favor. Go out. Change the damn world. Because if you don't, nobody else will. Peace.
Weight on my shoulder.